Okay, welcome back. So we are holding in the daily Parsha Insight segment. We started this week Chumash Vayikra, the book of Leviticus. It's also called and known as Torah's Kohanim, the Torah of the priest, because the book of Leviticus is primarily deals with the offerings and the priest. So the pasuk that we're going to focus today is speaking about the difference between the procedure that was done to a cow and the procedures that was done to a bird. So those who learned with us tractate Chulin and Zvachim will have a reminder with these laws. So the pasuk says, he must slaughter the bull before God, Aaron's sons. The priest must bring the blood and dash the blood around the altar at the entrance of the tent of meeting. That's in the book of Leviticus, chapter 1, verse 5. When performing ritual slaughter on fowl, on birds, it is enough to sever the esophagus, meaning you don't have to sever the trachea also, just the esophagus. In contrast, when slaughtering cattle, sheep, or goats, both the esophagus and the trachea must be severed. Why? What's the difference? This is because fowl who possesses wings to fly are more spiritual than the heavier weighing animals. They therefore require less preparation to be fit for spiritual elevation that they will hopefully undergo through human consumption. So the whole idea of human consumption is to elevate the food from being on the level of the living, just animal or birds, is to now that you have consumed the food, it becomes part of you, part of your blood, and hopefully you will be using that energy in a positive way, and now you turned that energy to be a speaker instead of just from the animal world. You're now this food, this animal became part of you. It's now a speaker. So allegorically, the same is true for us with regard to our spiritual growth and progress. Are we a cow or a bird? Do we need harder work to be elevated, or we need less work to be elevated? Those of us who are birds, meaning those of us that have wings, they already developed love and fear of God, already somewhat spiritually refined, need only be on guard with regard to our esophagus. What is the esophagus representing? The sensual gratification of eating, drinking, and material gratification in general. Those of us who are cattle, etc., goat, sheep, whatever, less spiritually refined, need to be on guard as well with regard to the trachea, not just the esophagus. Our spiritual gratification, making sure that we remain focused on God when involved in spiritual pursuits, such as praying, studying the Torah, and performing the commandments. So the surest way to remain properly focused in both regards is daily study of the Torah's inner dimension. If you want to refine whatever category you feel you fit into, whether the cattle or the fowl, whether less refined or more refined, like birds are more refined, or cattle are less refined, regardless of your level, you still have to do some guarding, whether you have to guard the esophagus or the trachea, or you have to guard both, meaning you have to do a little bit more guarding or less guarding. The point is that the surest way to remain properly focused in both regards, is daily learning of the inner Torah, which means daily learning of Hasidus, daily learning of Kabbalah. That Torah's inner dimension, that would be the proper guard for all the negative things. Whether it's the soft spot or a trachea or esophagus, it will help us, it will guard us, and that's why we have to continue learning every day. So going back to the Chayenu in page 170, the section on Geula, it says last week Parsha, which was Vayikra Pekudei, but we're going to speak primarily about the last Parsha, which is Pekudei, ended with the description of a cloud filling the Mishkan, a cloud that was filling the sanctuary to the point that Moshe was unable to enter. It was such a thick cloud that Moshe was unable to enter. So then comes Vayikra, this week Parsha, which begins with an exact opposite description. What is the opposite? Because in Parsha's Vayikra, God is calling Moshe directly. It says God is calling Moshe, which there's a small aleph that it says that Moshe Rabbeinu didn't want to have the aleph there to be at all, and Hashem said, you know what, we'll have the aleph, but a small aleph, because he felt, who am I? God is calling me directly. God is calling me for a meeting. It's a great honor, but I don't want everyone to know about this honor. So we see that exactly the opposite. Parshas Pekudei, Moshe is having a hard time entering the cloud, and Parshas Vayikra is being called in. Is a private audience. Direct darkest concealment. So how are we to bring the redemption? Who are we to bring the redemption if they were so much greater than us? The answer is that Vayikra follows Pekudei. Backdrop for the emergence of the light of redemption, because revelation that emerges from a context of obscurity is all the greater. Meaning that although it's true, previous generations were much greater and higher than us, but still the generation that has the most obscurity has the potential to bring Mashiach, to bring Geula, because revelation that emerges from a place of concealment is a higher revelation. The more the obscurity, the more potent the revelation would be, and that type of revelation, that type of light is bringing Mashiach, bringing redemption. May it would be speedily in our days. Bruchim to you.
Amen.